All right. So how are we going to generate quests for a West Marches out of this quest hub? I'm glad you asked. Let me go ahead and grab this other document that I've started. All right. It's, you guessed it, it's a Google document. All right. So, I'll zoom in our view a little bit here. All right. So, quest hubs and quests, how are they generated? So, how are they generated? It is randomly. And let's see, I'm trying to remember the hotkey for making bullets. There we go. Nice. All right, so they're either randomly generated, they are player generated, they are rumor generated, they are story generated, which I guess I should put slash roleplay, and they are planned. Okay. So obviously a randomly generated one would be like our good friend Kasun, right? Kasun, it's just an amazing service. If you are not back at these guys on Patreon, give them $1 every month because they're awesome. Yeah, they've got some really great features here. So one of the things that they have is generators right here. So if you need anything, if you need a random house map because they're going to rob somebody's house, but bam, there's a random house and it's furnished. Just like that. It's incredible. You need a dungeon? Okay. They got a random dungeon generator. It could just make you a dungeon. Yeah, it's so cool. All right, why am I here though? Oh yeah. I'm here because I want to get a generator. Okay, so let's see. Um, town, random monster, plot twist, and plot hooks. Here we go. So I could just go to here, plot hooks, and I could say a spelljammer has crashed in a remote forest jungle and inhabitants seek materials to repair their helm. Okay, that's hype. Get those GIF in there. A large shadow seems to be following your ship. It suddenly gains speed and dives. There's not a ship, but okay. And then kidnap or rescue an unborn heir. So these are just like ideas like that they're throwing out for adventures that you could do, which is pretty cool. If you don't like that, you could do a plot twist, which essentially, if you are running an adventure and it's really boring, the plot twist generator can suddenly give you some ideas for monkey wrenches to throw into that quest, which is, of course, very, very useful. This is also a great place for puzzles, which are hot right now, right? Tasha's going to have a whole section on puzzles. So this gives you riddles and puzzles that they could solve if you need them on the fly. You could literally run an entire D&D session out of this in a secondary window if you needed to. So this is a very useful site. Um, it even has ideas for the boss fights, like the room that it takes place in, what kind of boss there could be. It just throws more and more and more random stuff at you. It's really, really cool. So that's one way to do it. Another way to randomly generate it is if you go to D&D Speak, which I think we went to yesterday. Is it D&D Speak? Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the site. Yeah, it's D&D Speak. There we go. You could go here and also go here, go to encounters, and then it gives you all these different lists of encounters that you could have. And there's also traps and puzzles, and there's also quests. Here you go. So 100 jobs to post to a tavern community board. Well, there you go, right? So, bam, just like that. So there's a lot of ways to randomly generate it. So put Kasoon, D&D Speak. And of course, if you got money to burn, there are content creators on DM's Guild and Drive Through RPG, they make compilations of quest ideas, one-shots, mini adventures, all that kind of stuff. So that's all stuff that you could toss up in there. So what is player generated? All right, so player generated quests are players decide they want to do something. I want to explore some hexes. All right, so they put out a notice that they want to explore some hexes. I'm a ranger and I'll keep you safe out there in the woods. Let's do this thing. I'm a cleric. I'll keep you safe, but I heard there's undead in Hex 5, C5. I want to go to Hex C5 and I want to take out the undead there. I want to find out the source of the undead. So these are all things that players come up with. This is really fun for the dungeon masters because essentially the a dungeon master has to accept this quest for this quest to happen, right? So the player says, this is what I'd like to do, and I'd like to get a group together to do this thing. But you still, at the end of the day, you need a dungeon master to take this player generated plot hook and flesh it out into an actual adventure. But because West Marches is supposed to be player driven, we want to make sure that we empower the players to come up with shit like this. So I want to investigate the source of the undead in Hex B8. Okay, or I need to find more iron for my armor crafting project. Need assistance settling Hex C7 to secure iron mine. Okay, these are all things that players come up with that they want to do, and then a DM looks at these different quests and they say, huh, hey, I don't mind doing some Hex exploration. That seems pretty easy. Or, oh man, who has Hex B8? And then they check the database or whatever, right? And they're like, oh, Hex B8. Oh, geez, the source of the undead. That's because there's a vampire that had, that was staked through the heart, and then the stake grew into a tree, and then the tree turns anything that eats the fruit dead. That's like a whole thing that's happening. I would love to run that, and so they might contact the DM that's in charge of that hex and be like, "Hey, there's people that want to run an adventure in your hex. Do you want to run it? Are you interested in this? Because I'm interested in running this adventure. Do you mind if I run this adventure in your hex or whatever?" And then they could go and start planning that adventure. They tell the players like, "Yep, give me 3 days to come up with something," and then everybody schedules a time, and then they start on that quest. So that's player generated quests. All right, rumor generated. All right, so basically, every couple of days, we post up some rumors. So it basically reads like Miles Gillum. I think that's his name. And he says, "I heard there were lizard folk spotted 3 hexes south of here." And it's weird that they would say 3 hexes, south of here in character, but just fucking go with it. All right. South of the Big Skull Rock. What is the Skull Rock? Well, it's a landmark that the players found, and then the players, because they're the great explorers of the region, named it Skull Rock. And then that's what everybody has to call it, because that's what the guys that discovered it decided to call it. I ain't messing around. I also added to the Hex generation a table that has, I think, 600 landmarks on it. Landmarks and encounters that get applied to hexes, which is kind of cool. So as hex is being randomly and procedurally generated, it also has like a spicy thing, and the spicy thing could be like a tree that's always bleeding blood, human blood, or something like that. So something to just kind of make each hex have a little bit of personality to it. So even if you roll like the most basic bitch of all hexes, and it's like, we've got 3 rocks and some trees, there's at least a chance that something cool is on there. So I kind of liked that idea. So I added that in. All right. Let's see. Story roleplay generated. Okay. So these are things that spring up organically through play. All right. So what do I mean by they spring up organically through play? All right. So up here, they want to find out the source of the undead in Hex B8. Cool. We know that it's because of some corrupted fruit. Well, what if some unscrupulous son of a bitch, because we don't have alignment, right? Pockets some of those fruits, and an evil PC is selling the bad fruits and turning people into undead. Okay, so now we've got undead in the settlement. Now, obviously, the NPCs don't want people turning into undead in the settlement, so a quest pops up to deal with it. There you go. So that's an example of a story generated. So as people are playing and doing things, they are creating more content. That is the heart of a sandbox game, right? Is that your organic actions and decisions spawn more organic content. Okay, so it's the ultimate like West March's sandbox situation. A rumor is randomly generated. A player acts on that rumor, and then players inevitably fuck shit up, and that creates more opportunities for adventure, which is pretty cool. Or maybe they go and they chop down the tree and they stop. Hey, what's up? They chop down the tree and then they think that that's ended the situation. But upon chopping down the tree, they release the vampire's ghost. So now we got a ghost vampire on the loose. So now that is obviously going to spawn a new quest line, because we got to figure out what the fallout is of this vampire ghost being set loose in the region. Because the whole reason that they were trapped is they had the tree growing out of their chests. But when you killed the tree, you released the vampire's ghost. So now we got a vampire ghost. So yeah, story role playing generated, amazing, right? That's good stuff. And then finally, planned encounters. This is the railroad choo-choo train stuff. So this is basically like I was handed out some hexes. One of my hexes said that I had a wondrous location. I decided that I wanted to put the Forge of Fury there. So now I've got the Forge of Fury there. It is 100%. This is going to be the Forge of Fury. If you go here, we're running Forge of Fury. So these are static, pre-planned, often pre-purchased, written adventures, and those get littered into the game as well. It's important, I believe, to have a good combination of all of these things. And of course, the last thing that we would have on here would be delves, which is going to be a new thing for Paradise Vale this time around. And delves are one-shots that take place beneath the ruins of the outpost. And the magical nature of the outpost is that the dungeons beneath the outpost are always changing and instancing themselves and duplicating themselves and all that kind of crap. So anytime you have a 5-room dungeon or a dungeon that you made up or a 3-room dungeon, or you want to completely randomly and procedurally create a dungeon that doesn't make any sense but you play through it anyways, that's what a delve is. So these are just one-shots. And they are either randomly generated. Oh, geez. Generated. There we go. Or they are pre-planned. 3-room or 5-room dungeons, etc. Okay. Now, the thing about a delve is once you leave, the delve is either gone or resets. So delve has to be done in a single run. No long rests. So if you leave to do a long rest, that delve is done. Like you can't do that delve anymore. Or that delve gets reset, and then all the monsters that you killed are either replaced or replaced with different monsters so that it's spicy the next time you go back in there. But all delves have to be completed in one go. Whereas like these other ones, they could just go on for a while. So, but the whole theme of a delve is how far can you go in one session? All right. So the other thing about delves is that they are going to essentially be the audition for new dungeon masters. So any new GM for Paradiseville must run a delve. And so after they run a delve, we ask the players like, "Hey, is this like a person that you'd want to play more D&D with? You feel like they have a grasp of the Glyph system, like all that?" And they'll either be like, "Sure," or they'll be like, "Absolutely not." Trying to keep group sizes around 5, so there shouldn't be a tie. It's either a yay or nay kind of deal. Assuming that 3 out of 5 players are like, "I would definitely run with this person again." Then we say, "Hey, welcome to Paradiseville as a GM. Great job on your delve. Here's the rest of the information you need. Here's your starting hexes. Start populating your section of the world and start running some cool shit." But before that, they do have to run a delve. So I feel like delves are going to be the most frequently done thing, which is why this starting area is so important.